All right there, my friends. Welcome back in today's CSS tutorial. We are going to talk about margins and padding, two of the most important properties for controlling spacing in your designs. By the end, you will be able to properly manage space inside and outside of your elements. All right. So this was where we stopped. What we are going to do now, it will create a file for that. So I'm going to say margin. I'm going to create a file called margin and padding .html. Then click enter. So I'm just going to say shift exclamation mark enter to get this boilerplate code, and I'm going to close this server and they will run it again so you can run this new file for me. So there we have it. All right, to demonstrate what margin and padding is, I'm just going to create an element. Let's say a div element of a class. Just put a dot of a class margin. It can be any name. Class can be any name, so don't get confused with the name that I'm using. So class margin, and I can put a text inside and call it margin, for instance. So let me style this. I can say style, and then the name of the class is margin, so we can say margin, and then let's just give it a border, a round border of say 2 pixels solid red, so it can have this border. So this is the um, the element, the margin element on our uh, browser right now. But so what is margin then? Margin is the space around the element. That means the space around it. After the border, this border is, this red is the border. Now the space after this border around this element. So margin has 4 properties, which is we have the top property, the right property, the bottom property, and the left property. So if we say, for instance, if we say margin, just margin, and we say 4 pixels, what this thing mean? If you observe, okay, let's just say let's say 10 pixels. So if we say pixels, if you observe, let me comment on it and then comment on it. Observe how this thing moved from here downwards. If I uncomment on the code again, you see how it comes down. So what this code interprets on the browser is saying that a browser add 40 pixels on the top of this element, add 40 pixels, sorry, I say 40 pixels, 10 pixels, add 10 pixels at the top of this element, 10 pixels at the right of this element, 10 pixels at the bottom of this element, and 10 pixels at the left of this element. That is what this thing interprets. But if we want the margin to be applied on just one side of the element, we can do that. For me to properly demonstrate this, let's just say, because this is a body, we can also style this body. Let's just give this body a style. Let's give the body a style, a border, so that we can see the difference. So let's say border. Let me see, we are styling both the top, left, right, bottom. Once you say border, you are styling all the angles, all the sides at once, except you want to specify border top left or border top or border top right, just like that. But once you say border, you are styling all the 4 sides of the rectangle, because every element I told you is a box. So I can say 1 pixel solid gray. So this is the border of the body. This is the body. border. And we can give it an height. For instance, let's give the body an height of say 100 view view height, which is VH. This 100 VH means that take the full height of the page. Take the full height of the page. So now we have this. So I'm going to just have some elements here and say margin margin 2. You can say margin 2. Then you can say margin 3. Then margin 3. All right. So since we have margin 2, margin 3, we are just going to so I want the whole margin to have okay, you can just say margin 2, then give it a border of 2 pixels, solid green, and then we can also say margin 3, margin 3. This solid is not correct, that is why I show like that. Okay, and then solid purple. So we can see how margin 2 and margin 1 is clinging to the side of the body, but margin, the red one with the red margin, is giving a space of 10 pixels to the bottom, left, top, and right because of this that we added. If we remove it, for instance, you see that everything is going to cling together, but because we added it, that is why it's giving this spaces. So margin is the space around the elements. So if we want to keep a space, let's say from the top of this, from the left of that green, we can say margin hyphen left. Then we can style it and say, let's say 30 pixels. So you see that the element left from it left the border and came 30 pixels to the right. So he added spaces to the left because we said add 30 pixels of space to the left side of the margin. We can also add for the purple and say okay, add to the top. So margin top, add 40 pixels. You see how the thing will behave now. It keeps 40 pixels of space at the top of this element. So that is all about margin. Is by creating space outside the element. You can create space at the top of the element or at the right of the element by following this logic. If it is at the right, you say margin hyphen right, then you put the number of space you want it to add, or you say margin hyphen bottom to give the number of space at the bottom you want it to add. So that could be your own. Just practice that and then see the result for yourself that it actually works. Well, again, what I still want to draft out is this margin. When you say margin just like this, you are telling the browser, oh, add this specific amount of space to all the four sides of the elements. But what about if you don't want this amount of space to be at the four sides of the element? Though some programmers may, let's use this purple, this margin 3, they may specify margin bottom to be 20 pixels. You may specify like this. The margin left to be say 5 pixels. Yes, you can specify like this, and you can say right, margin right, to be 4 pixels. You can specify different spaces for each side. But there's a way you can specify all these spaces just using the name margin. For instance, if we do this, like I told you, what you are saying that the computer should add this space to all the four sides of the element. But you can say no, you want 10 pixels to be at the top, then you want uh 90 pixels to be at the right. Now it's a clockwise direction. It's a clockwise direction. So you can say at the bottom, I just want it to be 6 pixels, and at the left, I want it to be 0 pixels. So what this when you are using a property like this, you can specify there are different size of space like this. But mind you, it follows clockwise. So if you are doing something like this, you are saying this is the top. The first parameter stands for the top. The second parameter stands for right. The third parameter stands for bottom. And the fourth stands for left. So it follows clockwise. Then this is all about margin. Then what is padding? Padding is kind of the opposite. It's a space inside the element. Now, not outside anymore, but inside. For this margin, this this margin with the red border, we can say padding. It's the same thing. You can say padding 20 pixels. Now look at what happened. You can see the space that it creates around the text inside the element. Now not outside. The outside spaces are the same, but the inside spaces are now changed because we said padding 20 pixels. So padding works inside the element while margin works the outside the element. So the same thing with margin, we can say padding hyphen top to create only the space around the top. Let's do that using the green border margin. Say padding top, we can say 20 pixels and see what happened to the green. You can see that the space only added at the top, inside the element, but at the top of the green. The same thing. So it kind of is the same thing. So we can say padding hyphen bottom. You can do that for the purple margin. You can say padding hyphen bottom, and then we can say 20 pixels, and you can see the space was added at the bottom. We can also say still add space at the left, so we can say 30 pixels, and you see the space is added to the left side of the element inside. Remember, padding is inside the element, margin is outside the element. So we can say padding top, padding left, padding bottom, padding right. It also follow clockwisely. For instance, in this element, if we don't want to, if we want the spaces to be different, let's say we don't want to add the same spaces all round of the four sides, we can say at this red margin border, we can say 20 pixels at the top, then at the right, because it's clock at the right, I want you to add let's say 30 pixels at the right. But if you keep it like this, you are telling the browser, if you use two parameters, this thing means that top and bottom 20 pixels, left and right 30 pixels. The same thing with the margin. If you are using two parameters, you are saying top and bottom, left and right. But if you are using four parameters, you are using the four sides. You are saying top, right, bottom, left. But if you are using just two, it means the first parameters will define the top and the bottom, and the second parameter will define the left and the right. So keeping it this way, it means that I am saying top and bottom should be 20 pixels and left and right should be 30 pixels. It goes the same way with the margin. If I remove this and keep it this way, it means top and bottom should be 10 pixels, left and right should be 90 pixels. So the same thing with the margin. So either you are using one parameter or you are using one parameter mean one value, or you are using two values, or you are using four values. You cannot use three values. You use that one values to stand for the four sizes, the four sides, or using 2, the first value stands for the top and bottom, second value stands for the left and right, or using 4 to specify each sides of the elements. All right. So for the padding, it's the same thing. We can add more values to it. You can say, okay, since the top is 20 pixels, the right is 30 pixels, then the bottom, we can make it 50 pixels if we want to. Or then the left, we can make it 4 pixels. So this is how to this is how to create margin and then padding. So remember this, margin is the space around the elements, outside the element, while padding is the space that you create inside the elements around the text. All right, I guess that this is clear enough. See you in the next class, the next video. Thank you guys.